Hey everyone, it's Chris here again. We're doing our live stream. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about water filters for your refrigerator. And as well, of course, we'll be taking any questions you may have on your appliances and we'll be trying to answer them the best we can. So most modern day fridges today, and over the last number of years, a water filter has always been put in them if you have a water or a water and ice dispenser. So if you have those features, chances are you do have a water filter. And some people really are quite, what's the best way to put it? They really make a point to replace their filter on 6-month intervals, which is always a good idea. Other folks tend to just, the water seems to be okay, so I just leave it. And when the little light comes on the control board to indicate that it's time to replace your filter, some people will just hit the reset button and make the light go out and not think about it. But if you stop and think about what the filter's there for, it's there to improve the taste and the odor of your water, as well as providing some safety from things you can't see that may be in your water. So water filters do an amazing job, and they remove things that you don't necessarily think about that may be in your water. So if you remember to look at your water filter when you would purchase it, or when it came with your refrigerator, it's going to have right on the box the things that it removes. And we're talking about lead, chlorine, cis, asbestos, um, and also turbidity. And turbidity is fine particles that's floating through the water, and so fine that you can't see them, but they're there. It's not like you're having silt coming through, but it's quite common to have turbidity or particles floating in your water. So that's what your water filters are there for, is to improve the taste of the ice and the water and to offer some protection, as they will remove pesticides and arsenic and bacteria as well in some cases. Um, it's limited to what it can do with bacteria because you usually need a special type of filtering system for that. But your water filters are designed to be easily changed. They're easily accessible, and they're really something that if you have a filter in your refrigerator, you should consider replacing it at least every 6 months. So your fridge usually has a light that tells you when to change it, and it's pretty well governed by the control board and works on time. So it's basically doing a countdown from the time it was plugged in, um, using its own internal clock to calculate 6 months, and then it's going to trigger that light. There are a few models out there that actually manage and monitor the flow of the water that's gone through your dispenser and ice maker. And based on the amount of water consumption, that's going to turn the light on. So the 6-month guideline may be different if it's using water consumption, depending on how much ice you use and how much water you use through your dispenser. So if you want to kind of get a feel of what's inside a water filter, we've got a couple here that we've cut open. So if we were to completely cut open a water filter, basically take the top off it, this is what you'd see on the inside. So you've got an odor plastic container, and you'll notice that the plastic is fairly thick in the walls of it because it is dealing with a decent amount of water pressure from your home. So inside here is a carbon filter. Up things like asbestos and arsenic and stuff like that. So another version I can show you for a carbon filter is this one. So I've got cut in half so you can see what's in here.
Yeah, hold up just a little from the cameras.
Back here.
Yeah, a little further back.
All right. So if you can see this okay, you can see we again have a carbon filter core. We have a filter membrane on the outside, and that's what's picking up particulates, mainly that turbidity we were talking about. And inside is your carbon filter or activated charcoal. And that's what's going to be absorbing most of the things that you can't see that's in your water, as far as pesticides, asbestos, lead, mercury, those type of details. So water comes into your filter and it's fed down through, it surrounds the carbon core. It's pushed through the carbon cell into the center so that the filtered water is what exits out the very top. And then it's dispensed either to your water dispenser or it feeds your ice maker. So there's lots of different shapes and sizes of water filters. There's lots of different locations that you'll find water filters, depending on the make and the year of fridge that you have. Most of them are all changed from the front, and it's just a matter of knowing where it is in your refrigerator. Older versions used to be down where the kick plate is. Other versions were up in either the left or the right-hand corner. Some were perfectly visible, such as this filter would be. Other ones would be sitting behind a cover that would hide away the water filter. But in every case, the procedure is typically the same. You would either be able to reach up with your hand and unscrew it if it's contained all in its own case, or if it's got a cover over it, you're going to pop that cover open and you're just going to pull your filter out. Changing a filter is actually quite easy. And in fact, I'll show you how to change a filter in our Samsung fridge here. So if we were to look at the Samsung, and this particular model, they have the filter in a great location. It's actually mounted right down here, as compared to other refrigerators that have them mounted up in the corner, either just hanging there or inside a case that you would have to open up a cover. But this one's actually very easy to get at. And to remove it, it's just a matter of taking a look. It gives you the direction you need to rotate it, which is counterclockwise. So you simply go to rotate it and pull it out. Now there will be still water inside it, so when you go to remove it, you want to keep in mind not to turn it upside down. One of the other things to notice on this one, and it's not just Samsung, all the manufacturers that have water filters, you'll see in their water filter, they have this NSF rating. Now this is very important. This designation indicates that the water filter is built and designed to the manufacturer's specifications, and what it says on the side that the filter does is what the filter, when tested, actually does. So this becomes important when you consider how often you replace your filter and where you decide to get your filter from. So from a service technician perspective, you really want to be looking at what the manufacturer gives you for replacement filters. You want to make sure you're getting a filter that has this designation. That way you know that the filter is doing the job that it was designed to do. If you look at some of the aftermarket ones, they don't have that designation, and you really don't know what's inside this, whether it has the actual capabilities it's supposed to, whether it'll last as long, or whether you're just throwing your money away. As well as the outer casing is designed to withstand the pressure so you don't have any leaks. The O-rings are specially designed in order to fit inside the cylinder and seal it so you don't have any leaks. And you can't be guaranteed that some of the aftermarket filters that don't have the proper designation are going to do the things that are supposed to do. You can get water leaks, you can get them freezing and bursting, or you really don't even have the filtering capacity that is regulated. Anyway, that's really important. So you might think you're paying a bit more money than looking at aftermarket, but you're really looking at the point of, are you really getting what you paid for? And is it really worth it if you wind up having a flood or you got water leaking and damaging your fridge and your home? Reinstallation is just as easy. Just insert it into the cylinder. This time we're going to rotate it clockwise and lock it into place. And it's just that easy. But there's another thing you should do. Anytime you remove the filter and put another filter in place, if it's a new filter, it's going to be empty of water. So there's going to be air inside that filter. If you've done like we have today, just pulled out and put it back in, we've actually injected a little bit of air into those water lines. So you want to purge that. And it's really easy to do. You just need a couple of glasses to run some water through your dispenser. And it's no different than you would normally fill a glass. You're just going to want to run some of the water. And if there's any air, you're going to get a little spurt or a little gap, and it's just going to be some air coming through. There you go. That was a shot of air. And it's running a nice steady stream. So what's the concern? If we don't do that, these style of refrigerators, if there's still air in those water lines, especially if it's a new filter and you haven't purged it like that, you'll find that you'll run some water into a glass and you'll probably just walk away same as you normally would. But because that air is there, it's going to work its way back through the tubing and you're going to have water coming through. So your dispenser is going to drip, or it'll actually even flow consistently enough. And if there's not a glass there to catch it, it's going to run out over the door and down onto your floor, where you're going to get potentially some water damage or some staining, or just a miserable cleanup that you have to do. So anytime you're replacing your filter, purge the air out of it. And if you're just pulling your filter out and putting it back in, maybe for doing some repairs or service work or whatever, that you had to move it, just purge it. It's just that easy.
Is that purged water safe to drink? Or should you give it to the plants?
No, the purged water is fine. No, that's a great question, Sarah. Just to talk about that, because you bring up a good point. If you have a new refrigerator that you just purchased, or maybe you bought a secondhand one that has an ice maker and a water dispenser, you may want to consider this, that when you hook it up to your water and you start to make use of it, manufacturers recommend that you run your ice maker, let it produce 2 or 3, 4 loads of ice, and that ice that it produces for those first 4 loads, discard it. Because those ice makers, when they come from the factory, will have a coating on them, and it needs to be removed, so you're not going to get any kind of strange taste or flavor in your water, or actually in your ice. Same as well with your water, just run a few glasses of water through it. That helps run your water through all the water lines, and if your fridge has a water tank, then it actually clears that out as well. So the water you're going to be getting from it is going to be good and clean and pure for you.
We did have a question from one of our YouTube viewers.
Yep.
About how to diagnose an ice maker.
Oh, good question. How to diagnose an ice maker? Well, it can be, on some models it can be easy. Other models can be a little trickier to decide if it's the ice maker or not. So I guess as a service technician, I need to look at the condition that you're experiencing. Either it won't fill with water, it's overflowing with water, it's making ice cubes that are too small, too large, or the ice cubes are being made, but they won't eject. So depending on what you're dealing with will kind of determine what the issue is with the ice maker. So for example, if your ice cubes are too large and there's water dripping down underneath the ice maker onto the shelf or the ice bucket or whatever, then there's a good possibility it's not the ice maker. It may very well be the water valve. A water valve on your refrigerator looks something like this. There's many different versions of them. Basically, it's an electrical coil that opens up when the ice maker says it's time to inject water, and the water flows through. And sometimes you'll find that there's been something come through on your cold water supply that actually gets into the valve and stops it from closing all the way. And then you wind up with water dripping in continuously into overflowing your ice maker, making the cubes too big and causing water to drip down below. And if it does that, it may also create a problem when the ice maker says it's time to harvest the ice. And because it's overflowed and frozen the whole top, the heater that releases the ice or the flex tray that needs to twist doesn't have the force or enough heat to melt the cubes when they've been made oversized. So you'll wind up with possibly the ice maker trying to continue through the cycle when the ice is still in a frozen state or adhering to the ice maker tray. And you'll either get a flex tray that cracks or you'll get some gears stripping in the ice maker itself. So if your ice maker is not dispensing the ice, it's forming ice cubes and it's not dispensing, then it may be that those gears are stripped, or the ice maker is not continuing through the cycle. So inside your ice maker is a set of contacts and a small, almost like a timer motor that's gear driven that basically rotates the fingers of the ice maker as well as opening and closing a set of contacts. So your ice maker is going to fill with water, it's going to freeze, it's going to sit there freezing the water until the thermostat turns around and says, hey, everything's cold enough, everything's frozen, these ice cubes are good to go. And that thermostat is then going to put it into a harvest mode. So the first thing it does is it closes a set of contacts, turns on a heater, which warms up the ice mold or the ice tray, allows those ice cubes to melt very, very slightly, but freeze them from the tray. And then the next thing the ice maker is going to do is advance a little further, and it's going to take the fingers of the ice maker and spin them around so it grabs the cubes and flicks them out of the ice maker so they drop into the ice bucket. So if you're experiencing problems with it not ejecting, not taking in any water, it's a very good possibility it's the ice maker itself. If they won't release or the heater's not coming on to melt it, the thermostat may be gone in the ice maker itself, so you wind up having to replace the whole ice maker completely. If it's not filling with water, you got two things it could be: the ice maker, the contacts aren't closing to allow the water to come in, or the valve is not being energized and the valve may be a problem. So it's just a matter of catching the ice maker when it's trying to fill and try to get back behind the fridge to see if it's actually energizing the valve. So that's kind of the basis of how an ice maker works and how you can try to pinpoint what's happening. But if you do need to replace the ice maker, price-wise, they're not bad, and in most cases, they're not that hard to change. Certainly on a French door model like this that has the ice maker up in the refrigerator side, it's quite easy. If it's down below in the freezer section, especially on a bottom mount, it's a little bit harder to do just because you pretty much have to lay on the floor. But again, it's not that hard to change.
We've got another question through YouTube. This time we're switching to washing machines.
Okay.
So this is a Whirlpool that is not getting cold water flow. They've already replaced the control board, water inlet valve, the temp switch. The water pressure is good, the water lines are new, and they're not kinked. What else would they possibly replace?
Wow, you've kind of replaced a lot of things that are there. The water valve was replaced?
Yeah, water inlet valve was done.
Water inlet valve, control board,
Temp switch.
and temp switch. Wow. So of course we're assuming, and for whoever that's out there listening or is dealing with this issue, we want to make sure we've confirmed that the cold water valve is in the house, is on, and that if we were to take that hose off and put it in a bucket, that we're going to get cold water, just to confirm that it's not the house supply. You've probably already gone through that, so don't take that as a knock. It's just, as a tech, that's the first thing I'm going to check when I come into the house to make sure that the water supply is there and that nobody turned the valve off by mistake. But you've already gone through an awful lot of the things that are involved in that taking in the cold water. And I assume possibly by your question, it's taking in warm water. So that's indicating a lot of stuff as far as the control board, the water temp switch, and the valve itself. So if you've replaced the valve, you've replaced the control board, replaced the temp switch, and all your wiring is in the proper location, there may very well be a broken wire that's supplying the power from the control board to that water valve. That's really unusual to have a water valve problem like that, not taking cold water after having changed all those same components.
I'll let you know if the comments again.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. So yeah, so if you have any questions at all regarding your appliances and on problems you may be facing or how to service them, or questions as far as features and efficiency, anything like that, yeah, please throw them our way. We're glad to try and answer them for you. But as far as today and talking about water filters, main point of today was just to try to explain what they do, how they do it, and why it's reasonable to expect to have to replace them on a 6-month basis. Now, honestly, if you don't use a lot of water or a lot of ice, or you've been away on vacation for a long period of time, you can make that decision to say, well, I haven't used that much water, even though lights come on. I don't need to change it. I've only got maybe 3 months use on it compared to 6. That's your decision, and that's a smart and educated decision to make. But you will notice a difference if you leave your filter in there for a year or longer. You'll start to notice a difference in taste and in taste and in odor as well. So again, that's what's inside your water filter. It's an activated charcoal core that has a wrapper on the outside that's designed to grab any small particles that's flowing through your water, as well as they're right in the very center. There'll be a thin membrane that's hard to see, but it's there to pick up things like the lead, pesticides, things like that. Again, if you have an OEM filter like this one is, then it's been rated and it's designed to do the job it's designed to do. If you're looking at aftermarket stuff, you really don't know what's inside this, or if this is half the size or half the height. All you really know is that water's going in and water's going out. So just something to keep in mind, that you're better off to look at doing an OEM water filter, and they're very easy to get. In fact, just to talk about, if you do need a filter and you haven't really had to go and search out where to get one, if you look at our websites, you're going to find that there's a water filter lookup tool, which is really easy to use. You're just going to put in your brand name of the appliance, your model number, and it is going to do all the research for you. It's going to pull up what filter you need, and it'll actually have a link that will take you right to where the filter is, as well as the pricing and availability, and you can actually order it right then and there if you want to. And you'll get your shipping information and your payment amounts and all that kind of stuff. So again, that's what's inside your filter. That's what's doing all the work. And over time, this will get contaminated. It's the same kind of activated charcoal that you'll find in your aquarium filters. It's doing the same kind of job, and if you have an aquarium, you have to clean and change that filter over time. So it's no different for your refrigerator. As well, we also offer a subscription program, so that if you don't want to have the hassle of marking on the calendar when I need to replace my filter, when I need to order one, you can do a subscription with us, in which we'll automatically send you a filter every 6 months. And so that just makes it a nice, easy, convenient option for you. So some refrigerators you'll find have water dispensers, but there's 2 types of water dispensers. There's regular water, basically what's coming out of your home, runs through the tubing, runs through your filter and out to your dispenser. There are some models, usually some of the higher end refrigerators, that will actually have a water tank that's mounted in the refrigerator section. And that tank will probably hold about half to 3/4 of a gallon of water. And what that's basically doing is that water is now being chilled while it's in the refrigerator section. So when you call for that nice glass of water, you're getting cold water, and that's a really nice feature. And yeah, if you have that, that's a great option because you instantly have cold water from your dispenser. Um, but over time, again, this is one of the benefits of water filter is you have the water tank that's if you're away on vacation, just sitting there holding that water, and over time, water does age and starts to lose some of its um, quality sense. So again, your filter is going to help with that by again picking up that water that's been sitting, filtering it, taking out things that is going to affect the taste and the odor of it. If you're on municipal supply, then that's great. There is some filtration done at the pumping stations, but some of the materials that it does not take out, these water filters will. So that includes chlorine in many cases, as well as pharmaceuticals and fertilizers and stuff like that that's flowing within that water. If you're on a dug or a drilled well, the water filter becomes even more important because it's going to pick up a lot of the things that's turbidity wise, that's small particles that's floating in the water as your well is being stirred up, especially when you do that transition between coming out of winter into spring, your well's getting stirred up. So you're going to find that there's more particulates actually flowing through your water, as well as the water levels rise and drop in your wells. And this is even the same with municipal supplies as their water levels go down in the summertime and then come back up into fall and through winter. You're going to get a change in the quality of the water. You're going to see a change in the softness and the hardness. So the filters, again, are there to give you a constant supply of good tasting water and contain any odor as well that you may be getting either from chlorine or from some of the other stuff that may be in your water if you've got a drilled or a dug well. Manganese, calcium, that kind of stuff. So there's good value in having a water filter in your refrigerator, and if you're going to make use of having those features, it's worth making the investment into the price of a filter. And as well, if you are concerned about what's in your water, you can always get these home test kits that allows you to test your water, and they're very easy to use. This one in particular uses test strips, and there's a color chart on here that shows you by category what color the test strip is, and as you look at the variety of colors that are there showing, good or bad or a percentage number, you'll see there's a green line. So anything that you look at on your colored strip, if the color matches having a green line, then you know that the water quality is what it should be. If it's not in that area, if you're outside of the green line, then you know your water has something that you need to compensate it with through your filtering system. So I'll just show you what's inside and how easy they are to use. Open the package, and there's a whole bunch of test strips. So you're going to have your test strip, and you're simply going to take your test strip, dip it into the water, your water sample for a few seconds, and then just come and lay it on here. And as it dries, you'll see if there's any color changes, and you'll just match the color for each section up to the chart. And again, if the color of your test strip is a similar color as anything within where there's a green line underneath it, then your water quality is good in that particular section. If you've got an area that's showing a problem, then that's going to help you know that you need to use some filtration in order to bring that water back to the proper taste and odor. And it's really easy. Again, it comes with a little dropper and a little bottle, but for our purposes today, I'm just going to dip the strip into the water, hold it for a few seconds here, and then bring it out. And I'm just going to lay it on the chart and look at the color differences. And again, looking at the colors, where they fall in regards to having the green line underneath as being good. So you can tell very quickly whether or not there's an issue with your water. These kits are not expensive and they're very easy to use. So you can actually test the water coming out of your tap, and you can actually test the water coming out of your refrigerator after it's gone through your filter, and you'll be able to see the changes that it makes. So that's just a little bit about water test kits.
We don't have any more questions coming in, so we can probably wrap her up for the day.
All right, sounds great. Well, just want to thank those who tuned in for doing so. And if you've had any questions regarding water filters or hadn't given your water filter much thought, I hope we've been able to give you some information to help you consider replacing your filter at the appropriate time. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.